So welcome everybody. Today is our, let me check. It's our 25th Platform Academy. Thank you everybody for joining us. I hope this session will be interesting to you. We will be speaking about Tokyo enhancements and general recommendations around upgrades and releases. My name is Lisa Hohenstein, as many of you probably know already. I'm an outbound product manager for the Now platform. I mostly work with the platform workflow products, so Flow Designer, Decision Builder, and Process Automation Designer. I have been working with the ServiceNow platform for over 6 years and have joined ServiceNow almost 4 years ago. I am joined by the wonderful Adam Stout today. Thank you so much for being here and presenting for us. Please give a quick introduction to yourself.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. I'm Adam Stout. I've been at ServiceNow for almost 10 years now and work in outbound product management, covering analytics, platform foundations. We're going to focus on today and getting to work with Lisa with workflows.
So everyone, if you have any questions around the topics we see today, please put them in the Q&A channel. We hope to hear some of your experiences in one of the polls we have. And also feel free to chat and let us know what you think about these features and of the topic we see today. Thank you. Adam, take it away.
All right. So as we get started, thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of the new things we have in Tokyo. Before we talk about what's in Tokyo, I'm going to take some time to talk about some general things we want to consider as we get into upgrades. Hopefully, a lot of this stuff is review material for you, but if not, great. That's why we're here. And if you're watching on the recording, you can fast forward through a little bit. Lisa will put the chapters in. Okay, so let's get into what we're talking about. So we actually are just going to be talking about what's in Tokyo, which is released. So I don't know that we're going to have any forward-looking statements, but in case we do, make sure you don't make any buying decisions on those. And if I say anything, Lisa will call me out on those. So we're talking about admins, and we're really focusing on upgrades today. So one of the things we want to talk about is as we get into Tokyo, or as we're with Tokyo, looking forward to Utah with our upgrades, is to understand when do we release and what your entitlement is. And if you don't know what your backward entitlement is, that is something you want to make sure you get familiar with. If you have anywhere an admin in your role, or you're working, if you care enough to be here watching this, then this is something that you're going to want to know about. And our common entitlements are N-1 and N-2, which means with the release of Tokyo, are you supported for San Diego and Tokyo, or Rome or San Diego and Tokyo? And as we release Utah, that moves forward. So we don't want to see anybody behind more than 2 releases. And it does depend on what your entitlement is, whether you're supported for 2 releases or only 1 release back. In any case, we want to figure out how we're getting to Tokyo. At this point, all of us should have our plan in place on what it's going to take to get us to Tokyo and when we're going to do those things. We have Quebec on this list. Quebec's no longer supported. So if you're on Quebec, you really, really need to have a plan. If you're on Rome, you need to have a plan. San Diego, you should have a plan. And with Tokyo, take a deep breath, enjoy some of the new features that we'll be talking about, and then let's get our plan together for Utah. But we always want to be thinking about what our next upgrade is. So we're going to talk about a few upgrade priorities and how do we achieve some of these things. The first thing is a streamlined plan, and how do we plan for it? We upgrade. We just saw on the last slide, upgrades, major releases come out twice a year. Store releases are coming out more frequently than that. We want to have our plan to upgrade. We don't want it to be a crisis every time. So we're going to talk about how do we have a nice, smooth upgrade plan. Next, how do we minimize any disruptions to our organization? How do we make sure that the upgrade itself goes as smooth as possible? And then we're going to talk about some testing and some new features that are going to help us with that upgrade, and as well as testing. So let's talk about a streamlined plan. What we're going to talk about now has less to do with what's actually in the product, but just how do you manage those upgrades? And the first thing we want to do is have that plan about what are we going to do? What's the schedule going to be? When are we planning to upgrade? When do we need to start testing? When do we want to start communicating those things out? Good news is in Now Create, we have plans. And if we go to our upgrade toolkit, you'll get links to all these things. We'll make sure we have a link in the comments to this. There are plans in place, and we're going to go straight to one of them where you can download. If you have SPM, you can download a plan right there. If not, we have it in PowerPoint. We have other versions of this for you to manage your upgrade. What are all the things that you need to do as an organization to have a successful upgrade? It is more than pressing upgrade and reviewing scripts. A lot of us, that's what we focus in on, but to really be successful, to get the adoption we want, to get the value out of it, we want to make sure we have that plan in place. We have sample plans for you ready to go.
I really like this plan. When I was still a customer, I was mostly trying to figure out all the steps on my own when we did our first upgrades. But it's really cool feature that you can download and import. I think it's an update set that you can just import into your instance and have a ready project in your instance to go through an upgrade. It's awesome.
Yes, so lots of material ready to go. Related to that, next we have communication plans. So we don't want to just upgrade overnight. Things change, particularly if we're moving pre-next experience into next experience. There can be lots of visual changes. So we want to make sure we're communicating those, advertising those internally, get people excited about it. Change can be scary. It's not bad. A lot of great features in San Diego, a lot of great stuff in Tokyo, future looking statement, some amazing stuff in Utah coming out that we want to take advantage of. So we want to promote those things. And whether that's doing a commercial that we have playing in the break room for those who go into an office, putting up some posters, having a party, just getting some more information out there with some Zoom backgrounds that are going through, or some emails and how to target that out. There's lots of examples in there. We do want to make sure we're communicating out what the benefits are going to be of our upgrade and how it's going to be smooth and things are going to go through. We don't want people to be surprised by an upgrade. Surprise causes stress and tension, makes people not want to upgrade. And we want to make sure that this is smooth, easy, and something we do often as a normal course of business. Next we have is instant scan. So as an admin, now on the more technical side, we've communicated out, we're going to be, we know what we're going to do, when we're going to do it for our upgrade. We're going to communicate out to our users that this upgrade's coming and all the great stuff, so they can't wait for it. Well, we want to make sure that we have a nice, smooth upgrade. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is by leveraging instant scan. We did a session on instant scan, I believe, a year or so ago. We're on session 25. It was one of the earlier sessions that we had. Make sure we're using instant scan, and whether we're using the out-of-the-box checks, and there are a lot more that are coming available to test, to look for out-of-the-box configuration issues, but also you're able to write your own checks to make sure that things that might be particular to your instance are being checked for, that all the code that we're shipping, everything we're shipping, all the configuration we're shipping matches our best standards. And whether that's ServiceNow's or that's yours, instant scans lets you check for those things so we don't get surprised. This is a great option, particularly if something's ever deprecated or there's some better way that you want to do things. We want to use A, not B, or C, not B anymore. Instant scan lets you examine update sets, scopes, your entire instance for issues. We want to make sure that we're leveraging this to be as smooth as possible and not be surprised when we go to those upgrades.
We have a great question in the Q&A panel regarding instant scan, and they're asking if that is the same as health scan.
Awesome question. I think I need to buy somebody a drink for that. So they are not the same. They're very similar, and they accomplish similar goals. The biggest difference is instant scan is in the platform. It is there. We all have it. I think it's exposed to everybody as of Quebec, which is everybody's on Quebec Pass Plus. Instant scans in the platform. Search for instant scan, it will come up. A lot of out-of-box checks in there. It's the actual the backing for Instant Security Center, so it's been running for several releases now and checking things, but it was opened up, I think, in Quebec to allow you to write your own and more checks. You can run it whenever you want. You can write your own checks for it, whatever you want. There is help in line for that. HealthScan does similar things. They have more checks that comes from, I believe Impact is running that now. The big thing you get with HealthScan is that you're going to get somebody to help you interpret it and help you remediate it. With Instant Scan, you'll have findings that say this is not right, and there'll be a blurb that says why it's not right, but there's nobody to ask. So depending on your comfort level, Instant Scan might be enough, but you may want to have HealthScan. You may want to have services help you come up with a plan on how to remediate issues. If you have a larger instance with thousands and thousands of issues, sometimes it's really useful to have somebody to talk to about what do we tackle. Instant Scan is great when we're in good shape and we want to stay healthy. But HealthScan is going to complement that as well. Functionally, there's certainly some overlap between that, but how you use them and what you get from them are a little bit different.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you so much for those questions. Keep them coming.
Yes. So we have Instant Scan. And we want to make sure that we're running Instant Scan frequently. Again, you can run it whenever you want to run it, which means we can run it all the time. With App Engine Studio, I believe any deployment has you run an ATF suite and an instance scan suite. You could run this with every update set. You can run it every week, run it whenever you want to do it, as long as you're going to look at those findings and keep your system nice and healthy and tuned. Next, we have the same slide before. As we're planning our upgrades, we want to understand what the upgrade path is going to be. This is something you want to make sure is right for your organization, and whether that means you're going to what order you're going to upgrade your subprods on. If you have 2 subprods in a production instance, this is going to be pretty simple. But as we get to more complex, larger implementations that have more and more subprods that might even have multiple production instances, you want to think about, how do we implement it? Where do we test first? Where do we do our sanity checks? And whether that means getting a sandbox instance where you're able to really early on start looking for things and understanding what's coming through, or using a PDI. Hopefully everybody on here knows about the developer program and personal developer instances, but that's an instance that you can get. You can upgrade whatever you want to have outside of your company's stack. There's some restrictions on that you can't clone your company's data to your personal instance as a personal instance. Awesome opportunity in early availability to go in and upgrade and go see what's coming. Just get your hands dirty with the new features.
One thing that we always think we shouldn't have to tell people, but please don't use the PDI for any productive work, because they go into maintenance, they may hibernate, they may be reclaimed. Don't do any productive work. They're there for you as sandboxes to play around, to check out the new releases, to maybe learn new skills, learn new technologies. They're really, really cool.
Yes, and because there's nothing on there that's essential, you're always able to Z-boot it, reset it, upgrade it when you want to. It's a great asset for you as a working in ServiceNow to be able to leverage that. I'll go back and forth. If I want to know what does out of the box look like, I can always go to my PDI, and that's pretty out of the box. And if I've messed with it, well, one, I'm the only one that uses my PDI, so I know what I've done. Not true on all my other instances. But I could also just reset it, and then I can compare. This is what out of the box San Diego looks like compared to what mine is. That's going to help me, or it's going to inform me moving forward and as I upgrade. So you have those, again, early access. You'll be able to upgrade to Utah early next year. Take a look at that, see what the new features are, see where you want to tackle. Then you're able to move to your subprod or maybe a sandbox, upgrade your instance with that. Then we start going through those upgrade plans. But it's important that you think about it. You think about, what do we want to do? When do we want to do it? We don't want to just get into a place where, well, let's upgrade. That's a lot of stress, a lot of unnecessary risk. And we can avoid that by having a good plan, making sure our instances are, and sticking to that, repeating it for each of our upgrades, and maybe refining it. But we have that plan that we're able to follow. We have a plan that we're able to follow release over release. All right, next, we're going to talk about the store. This is one that the groundwork has been laid for this for several years, and it's something that we need to be putting in place in our upgrade plans. So we can come to the store, and one of the great features of the store is that upgrades give us some choices. So if I go into, whether I'm browsing in the store, the new features, or I'm looking at system applications, the app manager, as we call it internally, whether I'm going to install a plugin or a store app, I see them all in the application manager. And one of the things we'll see with the store app, I have it highlighted on this screen, and I know it's a bit small, but the version of the collaboration request is compatible with Rome and San Diego. When I upgraded to San Diego, this screenshot's a little bit old. When I upgraded to San Diego, I can decide, do I want to take this application on? Do I want to update it? It's not forced to be upgraded to the latest version with my family upgrade. This particular product allows me to take it whether before my San Diego upgrade or after my San Diego upgrade, because it's compatible with Rome. So not all app releases are backward compatible. As we're building on and using new platform functionality, sometimes we require an app to be on Tokyo, or we'll have a new app that only works on Utah when Utah comes out. But a lot of things are backward compatible. They are backward compatible. So we're going to have we have store release in August, and some of the features that were released in August will only work on Tokyo. Some work on San Diego. Some work on Rome, San Diego, and Tokyo. because you have this flexibility, it allows you to choose, do I want to upgrade before my family upgrade? Do I want to upgrade after my family upgrade? But you have those choices. Do I want to do a big bang, or do I want to do upgrades every month? What, when they're released or after they're released, whatever the schedule may be. I'm talking about schedule. The store releases, we have major releases once a quarter that come through that coincide with the family releases and early availability. So that is February store release, May store release, August store release, and November store release. I'm going to look at Lisa. I think I got them right. All right, she's smiling.
Yes.
That's good. So we have those releases that come through, and again coinciding with the EA release, so we can start using those on the new version or afterwards. But then you can decide for a lot of those things. Do I want to do all of my store releases, all those upgrades when I do my Tokyo release? Everything that's available in Utah, do I want to do it when Utah comes out? Or do I want to do everything I can in November, in December? Depending on when your change window is and what your risk tolerance is for everything, you may push them off, you may pull them forward. I might have upgraded to Tokyo in September, but the store releases I'm not going to do until October, because I want to spread it out and have less to test over more time. Or do I want to test more in less time? That's up to you. The store lets you choose what you're going to do. Generally, having one big everything in it upgrade can be a little bit scary, and there's more things that can go. So how you spread it out is just something you want to plan through. Also with the store, as it comes through, there's lots of things that are coming through. I do not browse the store for every release that comes out, but we have an answer for that. If I go to the store, you can search. And if you go, when you're browsing for all the apps and solutions, there's that little gear by my subscriptions. If you click on that, you get this big list. This is a small part of the list of every different category of thing that's in the store. And you can choose, this is what matters to me. And whether you're selecting everything in analytics or everything in platform, or a couple things from DevOps, a couple things from CSM, what matters to you, you can select those. And then every time there's a release, and there is a weekly release that comes through, you'll get an email that says, here's the new things that you subscribe to. This will include ServiceNow apps as well as partner apps. We talked about the quarter releases for the store. That's for our major releases, but there are patch releases that will come out once a month, and partners are able to release anytime, or once a week. I believe they'll go out in the new store releases. Great way to stay abreast of what's out there, and whether that's a new content pack or a new visualization or a whole new solution, this is going to get emailed for the things I care about.
Or even sometimes migration tools, like for the home pages to dashboards. We release all kinds of things through the store. There's a new question. Is there going to be an update all button for store apps that need to be updated? Because it takes a long time to do them one by one. Do you know something about it?
So we'll click answer live. I don't know about plans for an update all. An update all scares me quite a bit, because there actually are lots of things. Maybe that'll happen. There was an improvement though recently about scheduling and batch installs. And so I think whether we have an update all or not, there's a lot of work being done in there. So maybe that is coming. I don't know. But today you are able to schedule your releases, schedule your updates, as well as batching some of them as well. So you can go through, instead of clicking 1, go get some coffee and come back, 2, go get some lunch and come back. We can just schedule them all to run overnight and come back, and they're all done. So that's how I would approach that today. But you do need to schedule them individually at this point. I will say there is a lot of focus in it right now on how do we make this easier and smoother and allow you to upgrade a whole section of things. And I believe things like CSM or ITSM or incident, you are able to say upgrade everything that's there.
Yeah, they already have these batches, and then you can update everything that's in that package. And the other thing, I think one of the improvements for that list is our engineers are working on making that list load much faster. So that'll make installing faster. That's
there. For those of you who haven't looked at it.
It's in Tokyo, right?
It was backported to San Diego. So
Awesome.
I don't remember which release, but I believe as long as you're on San Diego, that should load much quicker. I mean, we all lived with it that when we wanted to browse in the app manager, it took a while. It might take 30 seconds, a minute for it to come up. And if I searched, it was another minute. I think that's closer to 5 seconds. It's much more responsive now to come through. So go look. When you look, you search schedule, I think we're going to be in a much better position now with San Diego, even better in Tokyo, and we'll continue to improve that. Something we hear loud and clear, that this experience can be optimized more. All right. Okay, moving on. Okay, so now we want to talk about how do we minimize the disruptions. So we talked about we have a plan. We downloaded the plan from Create Now. We're managing it in PPM. How do we make it smooth? And the way that we're really going to start to make it smooth is using ATF, the automated test framework. Here we have one of the tests that come through on just a basic test coming out. There's some enhancements for this that are planned to come out in the very near future that will require Tokyo. So it's not going to help you get to Tokyo if you're not there yet. But as we get into Utah, there's some great enhancements in here. We have some sessions planned in the near future on this. But we want to be using ATF. And I'm just going to take a very quick moment to plug ATF. But why do we use automated testing? It's going to reduce our manual effort. Clicking on stuff takes time. We can write the test once in ATF and it will click for us. And whether it's server side or UI, let's let it do the clicking and have less. It just requires less people, less effort each time we're going to do it. Quality is better when we automate. Humans make errors. If I have 40 tests and they each have 10 steps, I'm screwing up a good number of those. I don't know which ones, but I'm screwing them up. When we have it automated, it's going to run every time. It's going to let us know right where the error is. As fast as a human just clicking. It's going to do that. So we get our effort and quality, and then we get convenience. Same thing we talked about. If I have to do the testing, well, I need to do the testing. When I have it all automated, like I can let it run overnight, and now I'm just managing the errors. One, it's going to make sure I do know when there's an error, when there's a regression, something's different. I just get to manage that. I get to manage those exceptions, not having to go through it every time. I don't have to spend the time. I don't have to spend the effort, and the quality is going to be better if we put things into ATF. When we talk about ATF, this is the quick plug. This is what you definitely need to know. Make sure you have a plan. We talked about how do you plan your upgrade. We need to have a test strategy with ATF. We're looking for changes. We're identifying changes that are possible regressions, or that definitely are changes in behavior. But we need to know, what are we going to test? Who's going to test it? Who's going to maintain the test? ATF finds changes in behavior, which is not necessarily a regression. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it's different. And when something's different, you have to decide, that's the right behavior now, and so we need to update the test, or is that the wrong behavior and we need to fix whatever caused that behavior to change? You need to have a plan on who's going to do this before you have a problem. If we have the plans in place about who owns the test, who reviews the test results, all that's ready to go, then the testing can go smoothly. We already know how to route it. If you don't have that plan, we have a problem, and then we don't know what to do about it. We waste a bunch of time trying to figure out what to do about it. So having that plan early is going to help us set us up for success and that smooth upgrade. Next, we want to keep it simple. We don't want to test everything that we possibly can test. We want to make sure we're testing the smoothest, straightest path to go, does it work or not work? Is it doing the same thing or is it not doing the same thing? So simple is key. We do not want to have an incredibly exhaustive test, because that's a lot to maintain. That's a lot to review. And at the end of the day, does it matter? We want to make sure we're testing for what matters. Test execution time. Testing can take a while in the UI side. It's got to render, everything's got to come through. We're not shortcutting that. We're going through the same experience that every person is. But if we're doing some things server side, because they're more setup options, if we create some more custom steps and we just have things configured for us, we're able to do it much faster than a human can do it, because we can do it on the back end. So make sure you're thinking about what really do I need to test from the UI, and what can I set up on the server side to get faster test execution. As we add more tests, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much that can run. But if we can avoid UI tests that are just set up, that they're not really what we're testing, and move those to server side, we'll get through our tests much faster. And then the last one, which is the most important, is make sure we're testing for outcomes. Has to do with the simple side as well. What does working mean? Test for that. You don't have to test every step in between. We want to go, is it the same behavior or not? Do I get the same outcome? Yes, good. If I don't get the same outcome, well, then I'll go back and look at what's going on there. But we just don't need to run through every test that tests every step along the way. Let's go. These are the key. This is the workflow that means it's successful. We're good or we're not good. That's the very much abbreviated version. We have a few other sessions on this. I think we have 4 or 5 other sessions on this, more to come.
Yes.
You're here. Great. You found this recording. You're joining us live. Make sure you're checking out the Platform Academy sessions. I highlighted 2 in here, but if you go through those archives and search for ATF, you will find some great content in there about quick start tests, about getting started with ATF, a lot more in depth about the good practices, but all that stuff's in there for you to reference as you're ready for it. Oh, I got the whole ad right. All right, good. Lisa didn't have to add anything to it. Okay, but those are there for
awesome.
you. And the archive.
Please join us.
Lisa,
we'll have another session in November, but more on that later.
And Lisa and team went through and updated all of the archives in there, so there's a lot more, or a lot easier to search for what you're looking for. Better descriptions. It looks beautiful as well. So go back and check out those archives. And if you ever have any question, whether it's about ATF or Instant Scan or migrating Flow Designer or from workflows to flows, there are 24 other sessions that are already there, and that grows every other week. So make sure you're referencing that if you have a question. All right. How do we set ourselves up for success? I think I'm doing okay time-wise. I can't get through a session without talking about Flow Designer and low-code tools. Smoother upgrades come from writing less code. We want to do more configuration, less customization as we go through smaller testable units. So we want to make sure we're using our full low-code stack. There are other sessions on this, but just make sure you're aware of all these things. These applications are going to make your upgrades smoother. They're going to make your life easier. I can have one big, beautiful script, and I do appreciate the artistic nature of a 2,000-line script include. But in lieu of that, if I want things to run smoothly and I want them to, and I don't want to get a call at 2 in the morning because something's going a little off, we want to make sure we're leveraging Decision Builder. Decision Builder, I believe we released it backward compatible to Rome. It's got major enhancements. Every release as we've gone through, available through the store. It allows us to pull out the logic for things and put them into a decision. Lisa, you want to describe that?
Yes. No, I wanted to add that with Tokyo, Decision Builder will be automatically installed on your instance. So Tokyo is the first release where you automatically have it, but I would still recommend to go check if there's an update in the store.
Yes. And that with Process Automation Designer, there's also some store add-ins. So I believe with all of these, you get them now. When you upgrade to Tokyo, you will have access to all of them. But we are putting more and more in the store and more functionality in the store so you can get updates to them before you upgrade. And again, as we go back to that upgrade plan, it's, do I want to just come along with everything when I upgrade to Utah, or if there's an upgrade for Decision Builder or Process Automation Designer in November, do you want to get it? And I see a question about licensing.
Yes.
Integration Hub has some licensing for the number of transactions and what you can and cannot do. Decision Builder, Process Automation Designer, Flow Designer, and Action Designer are all included with everything. They're part of the platform.
With the tiny exception for Decision Builder. So pre-Rome, Decision Builder could only handle reference result columns. And if you wanted to put your possible results for your decision in a table, then you used to have to create a custom table for that. That is no longer necessary once you update your Decision Builder, because you can now have a choice output, you can have a true false output, you can have different other like string and integer and other result column types. So unless you create a custom table to house the possible answers, Decision Builder does not have any licensing implication anymore.
Thank you. So Decision Builder is great. And again, it allows you to take logic that we used to put in. We used to just create tables to do a lookup table. You might have a big switch statement in a script include. You might have a bunch of if-else's in Flow Designer. We're now able to take that in Decision Builder. Awesome tool, incredibly powerful, really easy to use. If you are not using it, we need to start thinking about how do we leverage a Decision Builder to make our lives simpler. Process Automation Designer is in that same vein. Allows us to give, I think of it as giving white glove treatment to a process. Before, I had problems that if I have a process, I have to onboard new people and they need to learn a bunch of processes. Worse than that, I have people who've been around for a few years who know the process and they don't know that we changed it 90 days ago. With Process Automation Designer as a process owner, I'm able to define the process and make sure it's followed. Whether it's your first day on the job or your 10th year on the job, you're always following the current process. That's what I get from it. Awesome stuff in there. We have a couple other Academy sessions on that one, actually on all of these in the past, as well as some knowledge labs from last year and now learning. We want to start looking at Process Automation Designer if you haven't. Next, we have Flow Designer. I'm hoping at this point everybody is using Flow Designer and walking through that. There's more content on there, but understand that Flow Designer is one piece that's complemented by Process Automation Designer, which is complemented in Decision Builders. And Flow Designer, I have an action to make a decision that calls it what I built in Decision Builder. So make sure we're using all of these things to the most we can to make our lives easier. Action Designer allows us to build custom actions for Flow Designer. Incredibly powerful to go through. That allows me to take advantage of my pro coders, people who really know what they're doing, and make something that's much more foolproof. That allow me basically to expose an API, to expose a function to be used in Flow Designer. And so I'm able to leverage different skill sets throughout my no-code stack before my low-code stack. So if I need a pro coder, I'm still going to use them, and they're going to write actions for me, which then my developers can use in Flow Designer, all the way down to my analysts who don't even know how to use ServiceNow can still be configuring decisions. An Integration Hub plugs into Flow Designer, plugs into everything. With Integration Hub, it allows me to make my integrations really smooth, allow ServiceNow to manage those APIs, keep everything up to date, and you just use them like we would for everything else. So Integration Hub is a very key part in here. And I really need to update this slide because it's automation engine, and you have RPA, access to RPA as well with robotic process automation. There's basically nothing you can't do with our low code stack at this point in time. And you can expand it if it doesn't do it, right? Lots of great stuff. Make sure we're embracing this and so we can get those nice smooth upgrades. Then it's an action that needs to be upgraded, and it's always the latest and greatest. And we know all these pieces interact with each other smoothly. It allows us to take more of that testing burden. It allows us to make sure that things work correctly and smoothly, and allows you just to make sure that it does what you want it to do, but not am I testing everything along the way.
So one of my favorite aspects to Action Designer is that I can actually just reuse whatever is already in my instance. So if I have a good repository of script includes with very handy functions in them, I can create my own spoke and create custom actions in Flow Designer to make use of those script includes that already exist. And the other input that I have for Decision Builder, one of my favorite new features in Tokyo is that you can now export a decision table to Excel, give that Excel sheet to a business owner, a decision owner, a person that needs to decide what is the result from any of the conditions. They give it back to you, filled out, and then you just import and your decision table is filled. So that's a really, really cool feature in Decision Builder, this release. Oh, thank you. I forgot it's there.
Yes. So the Decision Builder, this does require you to be on Tokyo to get this version.
Yes.
But again, once you upgrade to Tokyo, you're going to get this version. And as there's future updates, you can grab those. But the Excel stuff is pretty killer because now I can have my analysts just make those decisions for me. As somebody who's had to maintain stuff, it's all happened before. I'd have a process owner or some analyst email me a spreadsheet and say, go update this. I didn't want to do that. They didn't want to wait for me to do that. I have to rekey it in, right? I have to retype it in, just chances for error. By doing it in the platform, which is what I do like, but if you're scared of ServiceNow, and we've met those people, here, I'll create the template, fill out the template, put 10,000 options in. I don't care. However you want to do it, you're comfortable with Excel. I'm just going to import it in. I'm going to run a quick smoke test to make sure that everything's good, and I'm set. I'm not going to iterate through everything because, again, the inputs and outputs, that's something that decision tables work. I don't need to test all of that. ServiceNow tests that. I just need to make sure that my logic, that I have the right options in my table. But incredibly powerful import export. It's going to save developers, admins a lot of time and headache, and it's going to empower the rest of my organization. And if we really want to get the full value of ServiceNow, we want a very empowered organization that's building and using ServiceNow. Okay, so now what we've all come for, what's new in Tokyo that's really going to help us with upgrades and keeping the system running. So first thing we're going to talk about is upgrade plans. Upgrade plans allow us to simplify the process of the actual upgrade. So we talked about the planning, and we've had the SPM plans for that in the past. This is the actual upgrade itself. In the past, I upgraded my first subprod, and I decided what I wanted to skip, what I wanted to go through, what apps I wanted to have installed. And I had my piece of paper and I wrote down all my notes, right? Maybe it wasn't a piece of paper, but I had a notepad open and I was taking down, here's what I want to do when I want to do it, what my decisions were. Then I go to my next subprod and I would just read that and do the same thing. And then I go to the next subprod and read that and do the next same thing. And then I go to production and read that and do the same thing. We'd have a nice big change plan for when we wanted to actually do the upgrade, whether it was to a major release, a patch release, or just upgrading an app. I had to have everything put in place. With upgrade plans, we're able to build a plan in the instance. We save it, we publish it to the app repo, and then any instance that gets the app repo can then pull that down and just simply apply that plan. It's going to help reduce human error. It's going to speed it up. A lot of the same benefits we get with the automation with ATF, we're now going to get with upgrade plans, and make that process of upgrading instance by instance smoother and faster and less error prone. We'll come back for a demo for this. And now I did want to launch, I don't have a slide for it, but launch the poll. Lisa, can you pull that up?
It's running.
So we have a question for you in the poll, if you don't mind clicking through that. And it's, where do you find out about new features to implement? So I normally ask Lisa, what should I do? She has great recommendations. But do you read the release notes? You check out these academies. We have a few other academies on what's new in Tokyo, and we do that for every release. The release broadcasts give you a great overview. Tech Now, do I go to a snug? What do we see is helpful? We'll give it a couple more seconds.
Cool.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. So what we're seeing is very balanced, a lot of reading the release notes, checking out the academies, which is number one. That's great to see. The release broadcasting goes, nobody for snugs, talking with partners, or implementation blueprints. I'm just going to say that if you have a chance to go to a snug, whether it's online, some of them are happening in person again, snugs are awesome events to connect with other ServiceNow people, very like-minded people, and get a chance to ask some great questions live. So if you're able to in the community, I think you can find all the snugs there. I highly recommend attending a snug, which is a ServiceNow user group run by people in your area who use ServiceNow. We support them. We send people to come talk at them, but at the end of the day, it's just a great place to connect with other customers and users in your area. It's always great to talk about partners and implementers. Okay, and now we're going to get to, well, implementation blueprints. What on earth is that? That's actually, so I put that in there. So in Admin Center, we will pull this up in a demo where you can see it in just a moment. With Tokyo, we launched the Admin Center. This is actually just like Decision Builder. It comes with Tokyo, but it is a store app. So it's going to get installed when you upgrade to Tokyo, but updates will come via the store. So you'll be able to upgrade this earlier before you upgrade to Utah. You should be able to get it if there's an update for it. Right now, it's focused on ITSM. So if you're not using ITSM, this is neat. If you are, you definitely want to start looking through this. And what we see at the top when we have next experience on is that we have our all favorites history. We're used to those in workspaces. We have a new button called Admin, and Admin's going to take us to the Admin Center. And also in that dropdown is ITSM blueprints, I believe is what's actually in the dropdown. What that allows us to do is to come in and pick what's important to us. What am I trying to do? And once I click on what I'm trying to do, we're then able to have suggestions about which applications at ServiceNow in the platform help you achieve those goals. It's going to tell you whether you're licensed for them or not. It's going to tell you how long it takes to implement them, give you links to the documentation, to training, some intro videos, but really give you some framework about here's things you should be looking at if you're trying to do this. If I want to reduce my incidents, or I want to optimize my workflows, my workforce effectiveness, what are your goals? And then what applications help you do that? Great content. This is actually very similar to when we're talking about Instance Scan and Health Scan. Admin Center adoption blueprints are self-service. It's in your platform. It gives you information, but there's nobody to ask follow-up questions to. As you scale into using Impact and leveraging our services and having somebody to talk to. If you need to have somebody guide you and you want to be able to talk to more to some architects and get real specific guidance, that's something where you'll then talk to your account team about how do you get involved with impact and get that personal reference the same way we get health scan. Adoption blueprints, very similar to instant scan, where it lets us do it by ourselves. And if we know what we're doing, it's good. It gives us the right pointers, but there's just not that personal contact. All right, with that, I am going to switch over to a demo. So let's see how this works over. Okay, so I'm on my instance. I've logged in and I'm on the knowledge base. That's great, but I want to get to the admin center. So what I'm going to do, I have my new admin choice, and I can go to the admin homepage, which we're going to skip over for right now. And I'm going to go to adoption journeys. I have what we saw in the screenshot. So I have the goals of what I'm trying to achieve. What are my business objectives? So I am going to try to deliver extraordinary employee experiences with resiliency and productivity. Of the applications that help me do that, I have 9 of 15 installed. Let's go figure out that. So we're going to go look at the details. Again, it's going to explain to me, what is this goal? What are we talking about here, to make sure we're speaking the same language. We'll see the basic information about what are we trying to do and why are we recommending these things. But what I really see here is, here are the things that help me achieve this, whether it's installed or not. So my benchmarks are already installed. I have a few things that are not installed, whether or not I have a license for it. The ITSM success dashboards are included in the license. We're good. That's unclear for this one if it's included in my license. So I may need to talk with my account team to just double check, am I licensed for this or not. This will be checking your subscriptions on my demo instance. I don't have any subscriptions, so it gives me some weird information. But in this case, we know that it's licensed and not installed. I can click on that. Now it's going to give me more information about what is this. So I have some more information. What is this we're talking about? What does this do for me? And a button as I'm coming in as an admin to just install it. Let's go ahead and do this. And then it will tell me what else is involved. I have links to the dashboard, or links at the product documentation, other information there. I'm going to go to another one. If I go to my content pack, I have a video that talks about this in a little bit more detail. This happens to be
It's an academy.
Awesome. It's an academy from one of our sister academies for platform analytics. It'll go through what's in there and talk about it. Great content here. Again, this is not exhaustive training. It's going to link to the training. It's going to link to about what's going on. The goals for this are to help us understand, what are my options? What do I need to ask about? If I missed Lisa's, well, I'll tell you, the ITSM dashboards one, that's not something we talk about in our platform, that we talk about in our Platform Foundations Academy. We talk about in a different academy, which you may not go to. You should, it's great. But if you don't, that's okay, right? Or we have a question about process optimization, if that comes in here. This allows us to connect those dots for us. So again, you're able to go in your instance, in your sub-prod, what is it that I have? What is it's recommended? And then click through to get that information to get started. You might talk to your account team. You can find out more about it, come to an academy on it, read the documentation about it. But this will help us focus in on, what do I need to see? Do I really need to review 6 hours of, do I need to read hundreds of pages of release notes? Do I need to review 6 hours of the release preview? No, right? That's great if you want to do that. Maybe there's some areas you want to, but this is going to help guide us to have that discussion about something that's important.
And the other, our other product BUs will create content similar to this, of course. So right now it's ITSM focused, but the other business units will also add to this.
Yes, and this is the first version that came out in Tokyo. It's great. It has the basics that are in there. Your feedback's always valuable. How do we make it better? How do we make it more explorable to you? How do we make it clearer about what's going in? What other information do you have? So we can put that in there. We will see this expand to future forward-looking statement. We expect that this is going to be expanded to future to other business units, other solutions for you. All right, so that's the admin center. I really want to get back to upgrade plans. We have a few more minutes. So upgrade plans. I'm going to come. If I go to my upgrade plans, I'm going to go to upgrade center. And I have upgrade plan. I'm also going to see it in the upgrade monitor. Before we get started, I want to call this out. For upgrade plans, you have one builder instance that I create my plan on, and then all my other instances are consumers. By default, all instances are consumers. But if I go to Upgrade Center properties, there is a property to say, is this instance a builder or a consumer? Again, default is consumer. And I found out the hard way when I was trying to set up the demo, you can't go back. I already built an upgrade plan, so it's not going to let me go back. So you won't see that. But what you'll see if when we go into the upgrade, when we go into the upgrade plans, it'll say consume. And if you just see it says consume, it's because you're a consumer. You need to go into properties to become a builder. Again, you're only going to want one instance that does that. That's going to be your master where you're coming up with your plan. And once you become a builder, you can't go back. But that's what we're going to look for. So I've come in. We're going to go back to Upgrade Center. By the way, I do love that this actually retains what I just typed in before. That is so nice. So if you're still using classic UI or the core UI, Next Experience has a lot of just really nice features for you. So we're going to come in. I'm going to go to my upgrade monitor. And when I come into my upgrade monitor, it's going to give me the information on what I upgraded. So I upgraded not too recently, or pretty recently ago, not too long ago. And what I can come into is manage my upgrade plan. I get to this by clicking upgrade plans as well. We saw that here where I have upgrade plans, but I'm just going to go to manage my upgrade plan. And the question about, does it consolidate the many admins and all their actions? Yeah, I believe it does. We're looking at all of the results on what the net is coming through on what we accepted. Okay, good. So I have my upgrade plan. By the way, this is demo instance that doesn't have the right data on it. So right now I have no plans, but I'm going to build. Again, this would be consume, or you would loading the plans in if I was a consumer, but I'm going to build. We're going to build my upgrade plan. This actually does take a minute, so we'll see what it comes back. It's now looking for everything that had to deal with the current upgrade.
Like the skip records and these kinds of things, right?
Yes. All right, good. This is running fast now. That's good. So it's going to come back and it's looking through all the customizations that have been in here. By the way, I had one on here. I deleted it, so I'm not exactly sure what we're going to get with this upgrade plan, but it allows me to have that plan and then we can all edit that plan. Something we might have done like similarly in an update set before. We're going to go, let's view the details. Okay, so on my demo instance, I have a few issues of things that I can and cannot do, but now we're going to go to the upgrade plan. It would look at my skips and then let's do our new items. So now I can say, I want to install this, activate this plugin. I want to install this application and configure that. So not only do we have the skips, but we have what are our plans? What are we taking for this? Right? I need to have this app installed, then this app installed. And important about this is that it's not about just a family upgrade. It's about all the patch upgrades and it's about all of the any application upgrades you have along the way in your custom applications. We build all of that in the plan and just say, do this. This is what we want to execute. And I'm not going to create one here. But it is looking for the customizations that are in here and pulling that in. You're building this after the fact on what you want to apply, not going forward, or not, you don't have to create it's not an update set. You're not recording, but you're telling it what you're going to do. But it is the plan of what we're going to do, which customizations we're capturing. It's not just a record this, because then you have to go back and edit it. In this case, we're able to edit what do we want it to see and go from there. Okay, and then once we have that done, we're going to publish it. This is not going to work for me because I'm not on a demo instance. Okay, they did published it somewhere. I don't actually know where that went. And as it comes through, so it is creating a new application for the app repo, upgrade plan to patch 1. That's generally what we're going to see to come through here, and then we would pull it down from the upgrades. To get a demo that has a little bit more information about it, if you go into the documentation, you will see here when I go to the upgrade plan overview. It's a great 2-minute video that we're not going to play now, but a quick video that walks you through how this works and how we're setting it up. We'll go through the upgrade, but it's part of Upgrade Center. We can go in, we have those plans. We're putting in, this is what we want to have done. We're pushing it to the repo. So we are using the app repo to move the upgrade plan to the other instances. And then we just simply apply it like we were doing any other update.
Awesome.
All right. And I'm going to switch back and wrap up my presentation. Sounds good. Okay. PowerPoint showing again?
Yes.
Okay, so we got through our demo. A couple other things to make sure you're aware of. One, the resource upgrade, the upgrade kit to come through. If you can find this in the Customer Success Center. If you search for ServiceNow Upgrade Kit, it'll come up pretty highly in there as well. This has been updated for Tokyo. It gets updated for every platform release. Lots of great resources. A lot of stuff we talked about here today, and some others as well, to help you have a nice smooth upgrade. Again, the upgrade is not just us doing an upgrade. It's not us sitting there, but that whole process. And as we're incorporating in those quarterly store releases, we have patch releases, we have our custom apps we're deploying. This is something that's pretty ongoing all the time. And so we want to make sure we have that nice, repeatable, smooth process that's scaled correctly for a single custom app that's going through a single app patch, a major patch release, a major release. This is going to help you set that up. So what we talked about, make sure that we minimize those disruptions. We want to make sure we're leveraging ATF. We're testing for those outcomes. We're using instant scan. Make sure we are set up for success so we know when there are changes in behavior and when they're supposed to be there, and we're advertising that and making sure that there's not changes in behavior that we don't know about, and that we're fixing them so that our users don't find changes, unexpected, undesired changes in behavior. The streamlined upgrade plan, have a plan. We've gone through at the beginning, at the end. There's lots of resources to help you have that plan. Make sure you have it. And then as far as the Tokyo release goes, if you're not already there, check out that upgrade kit, check out the other what's new. There's a lot of other features that weren't in this area, but very adjacent to it, that Lisa and team covered a couple of sessions ago. Analytics has one, mobile has one, VA has one, lots of different academies that will go over it. If you missed that, go check out the release preview at the high level, and then there's always release notes. But think about what's out there and how do we start taking advantage of it. Particularly with upgrades, we don't like to force changes on behavior on you. You need to opt in. Another great use for those PDIs is Z-boot to the new release and see what's all on a new instance. We want you to go somewhere. We want you to be excited about it. We want you to opt into changes, and you control those changes. You know your organization better than we do, but you need to know that they're there. So take advantage of all those things we talked about to find out what's the latest and greatest in Tokyo. In a couple more months, what's coming in Utah. The release guide is going to be useful for you for that. I believe we'll have a lot of these resources for you before, but I wanted to show them up there. Again, lots of content about and now learning in previous academy sessions on everything we talked about. The documentation has some great, it's great documentation, some videos. It's more than just what does this field do, about how to get started and how to approach it. That's there. And make sure you're using the community, whether it's the upgrade community, the platform community, as we've all had the reorg that's come through. Lots of great resources to ask your questions. You are not alone. There are many, many of us at ServiceNow in the ecosystem, other customers that have gone through what you're going through. So don't sit there and stew over it. If you have a question, ask your question, and you'll get your answer pretty quickly, pretty amazingly quickly. And with that, do we have any other questions we want to talk about?
But before we head out, I wanted to thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much, Adam, to give us this presentation. I wanted to throw one link out there. Call for content for Knowledge 23 is out there. So if you have a good idea or an awesome idea for a CreatorCon lab or a presentation, and you want to be part of CreatorCon at Knowledge, please submit your session ideas. We'd love to have your content. That also means Knowledge 23 is happening, and it's happening next year in May, and it's going to be in one place in Las Vegas, mid-May. I think the week of the 14th, if I remember correctly, but you will find all the info in that link that I put in chat. Our remaining academies for the Platform Academy this year are in 2 weeks. We'll have Adam again as a guest speaker on this academy. We will be talking about subscription management, which is one of our favorite topics. And he'll take us through how to map custom tables, which is a frequently asked question. Then in November, as advertised, we're going to be diving deeper into ATF and what's new in the November store release for automated test framework. And we'll have Dinesh join us, who is the product owner for ATF. So if you have any specific questions around automated testing, that is your perfect chance to ask them to the product owner. And then we'll have a small break for Thanksgiving. Although I'm in Germany, I will just take the day off. And in December, we'll have one last session for this year, and we'll be speaking about ServiceNow Vault, which includes a number of security features that we brought out in Tokyo as well. So be sure to join us again. The link to the academies was in the chat, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. That's about all. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have a
Lisa.
wonderful day.